Hello, I am Reverend Stephen Longfellow Fisk, founder and executive producer of the Jerusalem Prayer Project, here in Los Angeles with my fellow co-hosts, welcoming you to our premiere webumentary, Peace Sunday 2020, We Carry the Dream.
Talofa, I am Laura Sa Pele Lapoia Ava, and I'm the CEO and board chair of Unity and Diversity World Council and Peace Sundays. I'm also the founder and president of One Global Family Foundation and Alliances. We are honored to sponsor and co-produce Peace Sunday 2020. Aloha.
And I am Robert Corsini, filmmaker and owner of Videocratic Media, producer of Peace Sunday 2020. This year's full-length program showcases 14 stories from a uniquely interfaith perspective that can also be screened as individual segments on our website, peacesundays.org.
Peace Sunday is traditionally an annual event taking place in Southern California, honoring the United Nations International Day of Peace, September 21st. It features interfaith and indigenous leaders, activists, artists, and performers, all addressing critical issues of our times that are impacting us locally and globally.
From Washington, D.C. to Standing Rock, Santa Onofre to Charlottesville, Los Angeles to Jerusalem, our stories include exclusive interviews and musical performances interspersed with excerpts from Martin Luther King Jr.'s prophetic I Have a Dream speech that frame the legacy of sacred activism with the challenges we face today.
We always begin our Peace Sunday program with ceremony and prayer offered by our Native American elders honoring this land, Turtle Island.
We'd like all of you to join us in opening our hearts and exploring our own hearts in bringing ourselves to peace, planetary peace and harmony with Mother Earth and all of creation.
May the sacred feminine speak and be heard. It is in the time of the White Buffalo prophecy now that the healing of our world will come through the womb of sacred women, all the sacred feminines. All we must stand together as the male energy and the female together. May this peace of the male and the female of the one love come together in a good way, in a good road, and bring peace in our earth with all elders, with all children, and all the many creations around us today that live and breathe. We send our blessings to our global family.
Here's a look back at Peace Sunday's history that began in 1982, focusing on nuclear freeze and the socio-political as well as the spiritual struggles of the time, leading up to today's Peace Sunday 2020 production.
In 1982, during the height of the Cold War, as the Soviet Union and the United States engaged in the nuclear arms race and fears of nuclear holocaust plagued the planet, a mass movement for a nuclear freeze arose. In California, the culmination of the movement took place on June 6, 1982, at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena. The event was called Peace Sunday. Performers included Stevie Wonder, Bob Dylan, Joan Baez, Stevie Nicks, Jackson Browne, Linda Ronstadt. Speakers included Muhammad Ali, Jesse Jackson, Jane Fonda, Dolores Huerta, Rabbi Leonard Bierman, the Reverend James Lawson. Peace Sunday combined humanitarian and planetary concerns with music and message, setting the stage for future global link-ups such as Live Aid and other mega concerts, raising funds for disaster relief and various causes. Peace Sunday was produced by the Year of Shalom Committee, a coalition of peace and justice and interfaith groups. In subsequent years, the Unity and Diversity Council, a Los Angeles interfaith group, has picked up where the Year of Shalom left off and has produced annual Peace Sunday events at various locations throughout the Los Angeles area. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Peace Sunday. So glad that you're here. This is the time to be here. This is the time to proclaim who we are. This is the time to stand up for peace.
In the aftermath of 9/11, as America marched towards war with Iraq, Peace Sunday courageously featured Muslim American leader, peace activist, and co-founder of the Muslim Public Affairs Council, Dr. Meher Hattout, and Congresswoman Barbara Lee, the only member of Congress to have voted against the Iraq war.
We really need a peace revolution. Peace is divine, like justice.
Peace is not just the absence of tension, but it is the presence of justice. Presence of justice. Peace and justice go together.
This culture of war, led by the military-industrial complex, catering to the lowest denominator in people, only serving the few on the expense of the many, and just hypnotizing the nation on the drums of war to march is not what the citizens of a democracy should allow to happen.
So, my brothers and sisters, let us take with us the spirit and the ideals and the hope of Peace Sunday displayed today and live each and every day as if it were Peace Sunday, so that the future is created based upon what we stand for today.
Nobody will do that but you, but us. All together, one nation, under God. May God bless you.
May peace prevail on earth.
Good and not merely the absence of conflict. It's not really the absence of conflict or negativity. It's actually a quality that is real as love and beauty and harmony. And when we rise to the level of being able to harbor and have an activity of this kind of peace within us, then we become the harbingers of a kind and just global society, and our steps are rooted in compassion and love and forgiveness and nonviolence and ahimsa, because it is a part of us. And it's not merely a belief system of what should happen. It births a way of living, of how we deal with each other, how we talk to each other, how we collaborate, how we come together and reason together, so that ultimately that vibration of peace and unconditional love becomes the kind of a clarion call that tears down the Jericho wall of the prison industrial system, the war system that seems so strong and so big. When individuals rise up and become keenly aware that the greatest power on the planet is within them, call it by whatever name you want to call it, by whatever religion you are a part of, this presence, when it becomes so real to us, then our steps are ordered by the Lord of that activity, and we're guided to do exactly what is necessary for our time in human history.
Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children.
To bring peace to the world in these turbulent times, we call upon the spirits of our ancestors and to all the sacred protectors of water and life. We call out to all the rainbow warriors of peace and justice worldwide. Rise up and speak truth to power, as it happened in 2016 at Standing Rock, North Dakota, in opposition to the Dakota Access Pipeline. Here's a powerful music video produced by musician Trevor Hall. Birthed from the struggles of thousands of water protectors who converged upon Standing Rock to stand in solidarity with representatives of hundreds of nations from across the Americas and around the world, all showing up to challenge the black snake dapple.
To the east and west, to the north and south, warrior, warrior, gather every tribe, Mama needs you now. Warrior, warrior, the suits are moving in just to get their dollar. Treat is being broken, no respect or honor. Earn the sage and cedar, spirit is the leader. Warrior, warrior.
We speak of Standing Rock as one, where in the beginning it was a test between our nations to come together and to support. And then the other nations came, and then more. It appears as though that once the world saw and witnessed the many nations of our people coming together in unity, supporting each other for this cause of the black snake that is all around the world, but in this particular place at Standing Rock.
The black snake is the pipelines that are carrying oil to different parts of the world. The farmland that grows the food that nourishes our body is being poisoned. The XL pipeline goes under farmland in the Dakotas. It pollutes the water. It poisons the water. It's not safe. We have other means for energy, and we need to explore those, to develop those. Rather than wringing the last of the oil out of the earth, we can leave it where it was created.
And this black snake is deadly, poisonous to all our teachings, to all our sacred elements. And so we've been able to understand that Standing Rock brought that forward, as many people, especially young people, created songs about this prophecy of the black snake, and that oil, taken the blood of Mother Earth, taken from her depths of love and life, brought forward into the daylight and ran not for the benefit of mankind, but for greed.
Nations came from all over the world, hundreds of nations, to support the battle against the black snake.
The greed sickness is the greatest disease on Mother Earth today. The greed of the colonizer to take and not give back.
And we need to remain vigilant and be supportive of not just the major movements, but all movements that are trying to protect our Mother Nature and bring peace to the planet.
Another example of environmental dangers that require activist attention and intervention is the decommissioned yet increasingly dangerous San Onofre Nuclear Generating Station, located only 30 minutes away from my home in Orange County, California. With its 3.5 million pounds of highly toxic and deadly nuclear waste, which poses a massive contamination threat to all of Southern California's coastline and extending into Mexico. From Tijuana to San Diego to Los Angeles, me, my family and friends, and the 25 million people who call this place home, as well as all the living things in the water, upon the earth, and in the air, we are all under threat right here, right now, from a disaster that is far worse than Fukushima and Chernobyl combined.
San Onofre was the first full-scale civilian power plant in the United States to ever be operational. They started building it in 1968, and there were 3 nuclear power domes there. There are 2 that still remain. Each one has 4 nuclear reactors inside of it. These were decommissioned or taken offline in 2013 after one of them sprang a leak because Southern California Edison, the owners, had purchased defective nuclear equipment that was actually a part of their efforts to cost cut and make more money. They decided to shut the facility down. There was a huge financial scandal surrounding it because they wanted the ratepayers to pay for it, which was totally wrong. And then because they didn't have anywhere to put the nuclear waste that was created by this whole debacle, they decided to bury it on the beach, which unfortunately is one of the very few places they have to put it. It's 108 feet from the beach. It's in a tsunami inundation zone on top of an earthquake fault line. And our objective as public watchdogs is to compel them to store this nuclear waste in safer canisters, safer containers, further away from the beach on the facility. Legally, it's going to be almost impossible to move it away from San Onofre State Beach Park at this time, just given the way the laws are written right now. To move the nuclear waste within the site boundary is something that's eminently doable. It's obviously going to be expensive. It'd probably be a couple $2 billion, but it's permitted, it's been done, we know how to do it, and it's very much within the realm of possibility. When we think of nuclear reactors, we think of meltdowns as being the big risk, but I've come to think of the nuclear waste as being more of a risk because these reactors were really generated to create plutonium for nuclear bombs. We ended up using them for energy back in the 70s and 80s when we had an energy crisis. We built all these nuclear reactors, but also the energy was a really nice surplus byproduct. And now we're sitting with, just at San Onofre alone, there's 3.5 million pounds of this deadly, toxic nuclear waste with nowhere to go. And they're storing it in cans that are only guaranteed to last 25 years. The American government's only 245 years old. We don't know what the world's going to be like 100 years from now, much less 10,000, 20,000, or 200,000 years from now. So this issue of what we do with nuclear waste is really very, very important in how we solve this problem, and more importantly, how we store it in the short term, because the only thing we're seeing out of our government and policymakers right now are short-term solutions. They're literally kicking the Chernobyl can down the road. And some people have called these big, giant canisters of nuclear waste mobile Chernobyls, because that's what they are. Each canister contains more radioactive cesium than was released at the entire Chernobyl disaster into the atmosphere. And there's 73 of them buried in concrete silos on the beach at San Onofre State Beach Park.
Be as committed as you are over these years without having a deep spiritual connection to this work and what it means. Can you connect your spiritual work with this, with that of the Native Americans who have been there forever? And
in September of 2016, I was working on this, and I remember thinking we've done everything we can. We haven't got a prayer. I literally thought, we haven't got a prayer. And I was holding this piece of pipe stone, the stone you make peace pipes from, in my hand. And I carved it into the shape of an eagle. And I looked at it and I thought, well, what if I prayed? You know, that's a novel idea. So probably for the first time in a couple of years, I actually prayed. And then something very unusual happened. About 30 seconds later, a woman named Michelle Anderson from a radio show called 1111 Awakening Code called me and said, I just met this amazing man named Chief Phil from the Dakota tribe. He lives in British Columbia right now, and he heard about what you're trying to do, and he wants to come down to San Onofre in a few days and do ceremony. 4 days later, Chief Phil flew down. He created this ritual where 30 dedicated activists kind of made a vow in front of that nuclear reactor, which wasn't very far away, to protect that beach. And the newspapers picked it up and kind of called it sacred activism. And then I have since really come to believe that there's tremendous power in group prayer and the harnessing of group intentions and group consciousness. So there have been many times when a lot of us have gotten together to pray and meditate, often on that beach, to focus on a viable, safe solution for the nuclear waste at San Onofre. So I don't think we'd have the resources which have been made available to us, which have been formidable, without the prayers of many, many people who have wished us well and have been hoping for a solution.
Taking good care of this beach long before white settlers and this plant arrived here, dating back 10,000 years, were Native American members of the Ahishiman Nation, whose traditions, like honoring the ocean, are still practiced by members today.
To give honor to the ocean, to the grandmother.
The Ahishiman Nation's Adelia Sandoval says her people consider the nuclear waste here a cancer to the community. Not to mention, she says, the insult of the plant being built on what she says was an Ahishiman gravesite for her ancestors. The remains of at least one ancestor, she says, was found here during construction in the 1960s.
The remains of this ancestor were telling us that something was going on and that something was wrong. It's like having a tumor on your body and it's just there and there's nothing you can do about it. You've tried to do something about it, but you can't because no one has been listening about it.
I want to take a moment and uplift the voices of Grandmother Adelia Sandoval and her Ahishiman Nation, the stewards of this land of Orange County. I also want to acknowledge the critical work of Charles Langley and his Public Watchdogs crew. They have all been a major part of our team since 2016 for One Global Family's daily Sacred Activism broadcast to raise awareness and take action. Along with my dearest co-producers, Heather and Jason Powers and Michelle Anderson, I want to thank them all for their unwavering commitment to protect our great Mother Earth, her waters, and all her inhabitants. Mahalo, fa'afetai telelava.
Itamukla, it is said that women hold up half the sky, and we're taking our roles, our leadership roles now, all over the planet, and certainly through indigenous nations where we have always had leadership roles. Women are chiefs, and they're leaders in social movements now. They lead from the heart, and that is what we need. That is where we find our strength, that is where we find our patience, and that is where we find acceptance of other ideas, openness to different ways of doing things, and finding ways to win without battles, but through persuasion, understanding, and teaching. This is the feminine aspect. And it's necessary to achieve balance. It's necessary to achieve our ends in bringing peace to the planet. All mothers want their children to be safe. All mothers would like to save their children from experiencing war, from participating in war, from harming the children of others. This is not necessary for peace, for prosperity, for security. What's necessary for security is an open heart.
As we've seen in Standing Rock, in Israel and Palestine, in Syria and Africa, in my Pacific Island nations, and all around the world, there is a growing recognition that atonement and reconciliation for the sins of the past can have a very transformative effect on all of us today and for our future generations. When I first arrived in Standing Rock with my One Global Family volunteers to stand in solidarity with thousands of water protectors, it happened to be the same day that hundreds of US veterans knelt before our Native American elders and asked for forgiveness to begin the healing of systemic atrocities that befell their ancestors and continues to impact their lives today.
And a couple of the other staff are going to name off the sins that our armed units have committed against Native peoples. And then we're going to apologize on our knees.
We came here to be the conscience of the nation. And in that conscience, we must first confess our sins to you, because many of us, me particularly, are from the units that have hurt you over the many years. We came, we fought you, we took your land, we signed treaties that we broke, we stole minerals from your sacred hills, we blasted the faces of our presidents onto your sacred mountain, and we took still more land, and then we took your children, and then we tried to take your language, and we tried to eliminate your language that God gave you and that the Creator gave you. We didn't respect you. We polluted your earth. We've hurt you in so many ways. And we've come to say that we are sorry. We are at your service, and we beg for your forgiveness.
Let me say a few words. I will accept the forgiveness. World peace. We are a Kota sovereign nation. We were the nation, and we're still a nation. We do not own the land owns us.
For many months now, the people of the United States, not just my tribe, but the United States, have been gathering and praying. In a way, these veterans are kind of answering that. It's showing that Americans care about what's going on. A large portion of my tribe served in the military. Myself, my brothers, my fathers, all of us have gone to war. And when I see my fellow veterans here, it makes me proud again.
It points to something quite important. Justice and truth must grab hold of the imagination of a populace. The wonder and beauty of life as gift does not work mostly in that kind of rapid upheaval style. It works personally and socially. So that is where nonviolence is a science of personal and social change that is trying to unwrap the laws by which, if people obey those laws, their activity will bear much more fruit, both personally and politically. Gandhi said, in fact, that if you could grab hold of the laws of nonviolent or soul force struggle, you would discover again and again that they work as do the laws of electricity or the laws of gravity. And maybe it has to be said that after all, the cultivation of the soul, the mind, the heart, the cultivation of human family, human community, or what we called in the 60s, beloved community, maybe that is really the beginning of really the last frontier.
Peace Sunday's spiritual call to action to create a peaceful, equitable, and sustainable future for all could not come at a more crucial moment. This is critical. Let us carry the dream as we care for the sick in our families and communities. Let us carry the dream as we work for racial and economic justice. Let us carry the dream as we confront the climate crisis and work for a clean environment and a sustainable future for our children and our children's children. Let us carry the dream as we vote in this year's historic election. Let us make every day a Peace Sunday and a day to work for a better world for all humanity. Thank you so very much.
In honor of the United Nations 75th anniversary, as well as Unity and Diversity World Council's 55th anniversary, we are hereby putting forth a call to action for all of us to make every Sunday Peace Sundays beginning January 2021. We are encouraging our global family to hold peace-building events in your local areas and/or online, empowering us to collectively create a more peaceful, equitable, and sustainable world with a much brighter future for all. We will be producing a broadcast series called Sacred Activism Peace Sundays. These broadcasts will address the most critical issues of our time and also highlight registered peace events happening worldwide. The third Sundays will feature a specific story from the We Carry the Dream documentary film, and the main areas of focus for other Sundays are spiritualization, denuclearization, decolonization, honoring and protecting the sacred, and environmental stewardship. For more information and to register your peace events, please visit us at peacesundays.org.
From the bottom of our heart,